Hello and welcome back to another episode of One Kick from Glory. It's just me and Matthew here today.
What's up?
How was your Christmas?
Christmas, it was good. Christmas was really good. Like, especially, it sounds cliche saying this. The last, 18 months, 2 years, it's been one of those times where times are really difficult. But I think, times like this, when you meet like family, people, good times, and just being thankful for all the things that you have. You can't really diminish that spirit. I've always said that I've always loved Christmas. I prefer Christmas over summer, controversial as it is, because it's just a one time I just want to be around the people that I know and love and value in my life. And it's not a very long period. And I'm still grateful, regardless of, new variants being around and stuff. It's not stopped me enjoying it. So I've really enjoyed my Christmas. Well, so yeah, very happy. What about yours, man?
Yeah, my Christmas was good. And I think I agree with what you're saying in terms of like putting out of our minds everything that's going on and just enjoying the time with people, family, and just making the most of it. Like we have to be obviously cautious with these virus variants going around, but we can't be too fearful because otherwise you won't enjoy anything. And then what's the point really?
Nah. Not at all.
And of course, with it being the Christmas time, we always know in the Premier League, we have a bunch of fixtures that come up. And I think this year in particular, with everything that's going on, with the COVID cases, with a lot of injuries, I think a lot of squads have been very stretched this window. I know you guys have had like a mini injury crisis as well. Yeah. How have you found it? Because of course your results as well have been a bit up and down throughout this winter period. How have you found it as a fan watching Chelsea throughout this particular Christmas time?
What I didn't want to happen has unfortunately happened. No, we haven't lost. No, the West Ham game was the last defeat, which wasn't that long ago, which I think is where the problem started. So no, we haven't been losing, but the couple games in between where really and truly we should be winning. Everton, we should be winning. Wolves, we should be winning. Really and truly, this has always been our tricky periods around this kind of Christmas time where sometimes they can really all go wrong. Complete contrast from November when we were just absolutely dominating. It's proof in the pudding. We're now third in the table. We're 6 points behind, which potentially could be more if we don't get the results in the next two games tonight and on Sunday. Like you said, we've got injuries, we've got COVID, we're playing. I know our squad is very, very deep, but we're still playing a lot of players that don't play on a regular basis, which sounds like an excuse, but I promise you it's not. But yeah, it's been a struggle. The Villa game was a good relief. I think, a good win, good 3 points to add to the table to keep ourselves in that title race. But it's been difficult. And if it wasn't for Christmas putting me in such good spirits, I'd probably be in a much more frustrated moods. So yeah, we still got couple more games in between tonight against Brighton and then Liverpool on Sunday, not including any cup games we've got coming up. But as much as I love Christmas, as I don't want to leave it, the quicker we leave the festive football season for us personally, the better.
I'm glad you raised it about how it's been difficult with the squads. I know both Thomas Tuchel, your manager, Jurgen Klopp and Antonio Conte, they've all raised their concerns with the fixture congestion, not just because of injuries, because I think that'd be an easy way to kind of put down to injuries or COVID players being unavailable. But for one, player well-being, because we're demanding players to play, with a lot of frequency and to a higher level. But on top of that, the thing that's really frustrating for those managers is the fact that they weren't allowed to have 5 subs. That they had another meeting about it recently and the other 16 teams said no. Well, the other 14 teams said no. The top 6 said yes, and 14 teams said no. That they didn't want to implement a system that actually would be fair across the board. Because it's not just the bigger teams would be able to take advantage of it and just swap out, one high quality player for another, which may have been the case earlier in the season. You could argue that, but with injuries of COVID, it's just kind of taken a massive toll, and players are having to play back to back, having players that are coming back straight from injury straight back into the game. And that's no way to maintain a good level of performance. It's not a good way to have to do their general well-being. And ultimately the quality of football is going to suffer. For you, do you feel like that's something you've seen just looking across the games this kind of Christmas period?
I'd say so. Not just even looking at us, but looking around at, say, other teams. I know one big look at Manchester United. I know Ralph Rangnick's just come in and they're still undefeated under him, I believe. They're still undefeated, and I know, for some of the games we're in an odd game 1-0, but you're starting to see a style of play. But proof came, I think it was the game Monday against Newcastle United. Fantastic game. And arguably, you could say that they got away with the result that they got, because in no way, shape or form did they deserve didn't deserve to win. Newcastle had them on the absolute rocks. But being in that kind of Manchester United where you're watching, you're like, they're going to find a goal from somewhere. And, they did. I think Man United had one or two games postponed. I think at least majority of the teams have had their games postponed in this period. I think, they have, Spurs have, Everton have, Leeds have. It's difficult for everyone. So it's kind of unfair in a way that we're not allowed to have just a little bit more preparation for, like you say, for player well-being. Sometimes the gap in between games sometimes was 2 days. 2 days to come off from training from one match and then go straight into another one. Imagine if you're playing Man City, you're playing Brentford tonight to play then Arsenal a few days later. Where normally it's about at least 5 to 6 days preparation. As a player, you come to think especially come back from say COVID injury, sometimes even both, you're like, wow, I've had no time to kind of even sit and take in what's going on. Cause I'm going from, I'm traveling from let's say I'm traveling from, I don't know, Tottenham one night in the busy city of London to the depths of the wilderness like Burnley. That's a good example of saying there's no time for them to sit and just take in what's going on for so many days, because especially if your games have been postponed for no fault of your own. It's just what is going on?
And on top of that, I've seen a couple of stories of fans there's one in particular, American Arsenal fan, he came over to catch our game against Wolves, which would have been yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah.
And it got cancelled. So obviously, that was meant to be a surprise. Him and his wife ruined. Luckily, one of the Arsenal players saw it and actually paid for him to sit in their box for the game.
Oh, so sweet, man.
Against Man City at the weekend. So at least that's kind of saved it.
Yeah.
But it's not uncommon for fans to have to spend so much money on the traveling to go to and from games, to see games just getting cancelled just like this because of COVID. And in some occasions, the cancellations aren't fair, because some teams can use their reserves and under-21s to make up a full squad.
But they won't.
And they won't, and their games get cancelled. And other teams are forced to play, I think Leeds, when we played them, also played them.
Yeah.
They had to use a very makeshift team. And to be fair, looking at that game, they had a good cause to say it should have been cancelled.
Yeah.
Because the player's unavailable, but yet they weren't able to have it played. On the flip side, you have teams like Tottenham who can get games cancelled because they're missing 1 or 2 people here and there. So it's how it's all been done and how games have been cancelled, not cancelled. I don't think it's been fairly applied across the board.
No.
But it is something for the well-being of the player they need to really think about, because if we're going to flip forward to next season, we got the Qatar World Cup, which is already messed up. Going to mess up every schedule. They need to really consider player well-being, because if not, it'll be one of the worst World Cups we're ever going to have.
Yeah, and it's just not, we don't get the show that we know and we want, because especially over the last 2 tournaments, big tournaments, you've had the Euros, which went down really, really well, and the World Cup as well, from when we went to the semi-finals where there was no real kind of expectation, that went down really, really well as well. But, they're two kind of, the way they've been done, they've been played in football-centric arees in a way, say what you want about Russia and the controversies and everything, there is a football.
That's true.
There's a football culture there, different teams going around, big teams like Zenit, a lot of times where the money was there with Russian owners like for us, for example. And I think at one point, not that long ago, the Russian football team were serious contenders for big competitions, serious contenders. And then they had obviously Euros last year, how they dotted it around Europe, but still, places like Italy, France, Germany, England, finals in Wembley, the home of football. There's a football culture there. With Qatar, the time it's being played in, not just the sport that's going to be where everything's going to change, but it's the culture as well. The football culture that comes along with it, there's so many questions I want to ask and find out and see why they're doing it. The main one I know is the cash, it's the money. I know that. I've accepted that. I'm over it now. But I'm trying thinking, what else is going to be different for when it comes around? You know, is player, like you said, is player well-being going to be on the agenda? Like, you know, after what we had so far, and hopefully no more variants come up and make this any more difficult than it needs to be. But what else about football are they trying to change? They tried it with the Super League. I think we talked about this earlier. Will this rear its head again? This ain't over. It's not over. But what else about football, with their reasons going to Qatar, what else are they trying to change?
That is a good point. I know Arsene Wenger and FIFA have the proposal to have a World Cup every year, every 2 years.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's going to work with the Copa America and the Euros. I really feel like there's already so much football that's played every season, and the players have not really had a proper break. I mean, the only real break they've had was the lockdown.
Yeah.
Which may have served well in some regards, but not, because it's like they had to cram in so much football to end the season.
Yeah.
And they didn't have much of a holiday. And then it was like back into it again. Then we had the Euros. Then not much of a break, and then back into it again. It's like, they are people.
They are, yeah. I mean, it's almost as if it feels like they've been punished for the first original lockdown. Oh, you didn't play, so here, now you got to do everything all at once. It's like, well, hang about. You know, this is a time where the police will be on you if you were in the wrong borough.
Yep.
Do you think they're going to go very, very far? They couldn't fly anywhere. What was the point? And I think this is always, I'm going to get into something a little bit different about this whole thing about them being people, but you see a lot of people where they compare their wages to, like, say, a nurse's wages or a teacher's wages. Now, granted, fine, you know, it's come to a point where I've had to say like this, yes, they get paid in some ways far too much. They probably do, but you have to look at it this way. Each individual player, they're not really bound. They're not government paid. I work in a government paid job. I think you do as well. So you're always going to be a limitation. They're on their own, are their own business. They are the store. Each one of them is like looking at, like a Westfield or a Brent Cross or a big time business. That is what they are. So you guess, like, I think years ago, it broke, the way I understood it was when Gareth Bale made that transfer to Real Madrid. He had his base salary, including on top of that. So you can't really blame them for getting the money that they're getting. You need to look at the way that other jobs are being paid. They're not being made, possibly that they're not being paid too much. And let's look at it like this. Now, the way they look, I said about Christmas. Football's train. They train on Christmas Day.
Yep.
So they don't even get that time with their families, traveling here, there and everything. Don't see their families for months, weeks and months, you know, mental health, injuries, you know, it's way more exposed now. Like these footballers, that they are people, and when they get injured, sometimes they fall off, and even when they come back, it's like, well, your history, someone's replaced you.
That's true.
So we can all agree to get paid too much, the same way it costs too much to buy a house nowadays. But then it's not their fault. I mean, what do you even want them to do? Not take the money? Come on, grow up, man. Don't give over, man. We need to be a little bit more understanding, you know, about where they go for. Because it's no cakewalk. It's no cakewalk. They work round the clock.
And they make massive sacrifices to get there. Like, to just become a professional footballer, the level of dedication, the training, the setbacks. I mean, imagine like being in an academy and you know that most people around you aren't even going to make it.
Yeah.
Or even being like amongst your friends, like playing in the parking, like people that are good, they may not even make it. Just becoming a professional is an amazing testament.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, it's not lost on a lot of them. One or two might have forgotten what it means to be professional, and the journey they came on, the ego gets to them, the money gets to them. But on the whole, it's a massive, massive sacrifice that they make.
Absolutely.
And so it's always difficult. And then for us, the fans, you know, we always want that enjoyment. We want to support them as much as we can. Sometimes players make it hard for us when they play bad or they get on our nerves. But, you know, talking about all this COVID stuff and even like the possibility of us going into another lockdown.
Please don't.
Please don't. I mean, early indications are that it's hit 50 and we'll see. But, just even the whole idea of that, like just having the fans back in at the moment has been amazing. Like you mentioned before we started recording about fans coming into some grounds, and like the numbers haven't diminished at all over this time.
No. So I do sometimes, I do program slaying for a championship club. And to sometimes, I won't say the majority of the games I've been, the numbers haven't dipped. Even the most recent game I did when this whole Omicron thing came out, where we're kind of central to it. Granted, they had 2 games called off, so they missed 3 weeks worth of football. But when they came back, it was only 2 days ago? Yeah, 2 days ago. They still coming in their droves. Bear in mind, one of the clubs came from not even London, they're from the South Coast. And they were coming in coaches,
Wow.
They're still coming in. They're still very much dedicated to, coming down to the games. I don't want it to go back to a point where you don't want the fans to be there, because I see a lot of clips on, I haven't been to a football game in years because it's so expensive. But when the ones that, you do see, there's nothing sometimes when you're watching football on TV and they uncut those, like, they miss the moments when they're meant to cut, but they don't. It's like, so, it was I can't remember what game it was. It was an Arsenal game and it was Aaron Ramsdale. And the fans were giving it, but he was giving it back.
Oh yeah.
And it's things like that where it's like, it's just an undefeated feeling sometimes, especially when you get a player who's taking on the crowd and is like, give it as good as you got. Come on, keep it coming. And you just love that kind of, that kind of sense of thing between the fans, because even though they're rivals, it's like it's almost like a respect there. You have to respect those kind of players like him and others who kind of give it back to the away fans. It's like, well, yeah, give it as good as you got. Those kind of character moments, and seeing those plays, like the Newcastle Man United game. Imagine seeing that Saint-Maximin goal in the ground at St. James's Park. I mean, how he got that, how he was able to do that. My guy was doing Strictly. My guy was, I think they missed a trick, man. Saint-Maximin, if you get some time, do Strictly next year, you'll walk it. How he's able to generate that power for that shot, I'll never know. But being there to appreciate it just makes it better. And just seeing the smiles on all the Newcastle, that uplift at Newcastle that they really needed. It's just, you can't get that anywhere else.
That's
you
true.
really can't.
I think, talking of Saint-Maximin, I feel like he is one of those priceless players that it doesn't matter what the ticket price is to go to the game. As long as he's on the pitch, it's like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
It reminds me of when you guys had Eden Hazard.
Yes.
And I mean, there's lots of, talk out there from Chelsea fans. They would love him to come back. I don't know if he's the same person anymore as he used to be, but we'll save that for a little bit. But players like Saint-Maximin, especially that game, even in this time when it's fixture congestion, game after game after game, and where Newcastle are, they need points. They need to get out of the bottom 3. They need to start looking up and not looking down. And, he is just exciting.
He's just a joy to watch.
Wow.
Just a joy. He really is. And again, you kind of want him to stay up, because if they don't, he'll be the first one out of the door. He'll be the absolute first.
Not necessarily because he wants to leave, but because the offers that would come for him.
The offers will come.
Because I can tell from his social media is always funny, especially when Sunderland fans try to give him stick. His responses, his one-liners back, it's just like, you can tell he is fully bought in to the
Newcastle
Geordie
philosophy,
way.
yeah.
And he is one of them, and he loves it, and he doesn't take any stick from any of their fans.
Yeah, he's just build a club around him. Build it, kind of take it around him, because you see what the guy can do. He can dribble, he can shoot, he can score. So they are in I know they're good, their table position is not ideal, but stick with him. Even if you finish 17th, then you can go. And it's even just January next week. It's transfer window. So even then, just work around with him, and you can plan for next year and maybe make that really big push for the top 10. And providing he stays fit as well, because he's just an asset you just want to keep in the Premier League, because he's not even old, is he?
No, he's I want to say he's 25, 20. I want to say he could be 26.
Because he's got time to kind of, still, there's more in him. He can get, better.
24 even.
He's 24.
25 in March. That's a perfect age to have him. He's a franchise player for them.
Yeah.
Can't let him go.
He's got time.
They need to make sure that he doesn't get, at the end of the day, with this takeover now, that is obviously official, confirmed, whatever, and they have the money behind them. I don't see him being tempted by, another team.
No.
The only thing would be if he, with the international, because he hasn't really broken into the French national team.
Yeah.
That could be the only thing that might make him consider moving to another club for more exposure. But I feel like Newcastle this season, next season, season after, might be worthwhile project to stick it out and just see how things go. It's going to be interesting with them.
No, but he's just something. He's something else to watch. He really is. He really, really is.
Outside of their game against Man United, I think Man United they're really going for a rough time. I feel like
they were poor that day. Really,
I think they were better under Carrick for the 3 games he had in charge.
Well, you considering they played Arsenal, Chelsea, who else did they play?
The Champions League game as well.
The Champions League game, and he didn't lose in any of them. I mean, you could argue that the Carrick game against Man United started the problems that we have right now. I mean, they haven't been scintillating under Ragnarok, at least not yet. But
I mean, they're there.
I mean, they are there. But again, it's like, all right, okay, like you got Ronaldo, you got Bruno, but it's still like a similar, not.
I mean, they really miss Pogba.
They do miss
miss him.
They do miss Pogba.
And they're going to miss him more if he leaves at the end of the season.
Well, I could have told them that. I can say that for such a long time. Like, you're going to miss him when you have a luxury player like that when he's gone. Like, I refuse to, I refuse to believe the guy that played for France, the guy that played for Juventus, that you can't find a spot for him in that team. There's the correlation, it all fits. He's been frustrated and stagnated since he's got to Man United. But before, where he was just running apart, let him just run and do his thing. You see how you get the best out of him. Certain players, your approach has got to be so different. You have to allow them kind of expression and freedom. Even Eddie Howe knows not to restrict Saint-Maximin.
That's true.
You don't restrict him. You let them do their thing. Same way with you with possibly, Ozil. Let him do his thing.
We let him do his thing a bit too much.
But, then even off, you gave him an inch, he took about 20 kilometers.
Yep.
But, there's certain players where you just have to watch, but you just have those players and be like, you might tell, you never seen the movie, like, oh, you do this, you do that. And you got one person who goes like, oh, but what do I do? And he goes, don't worry. You just do you, because you're the only player, you're the only one that can do it. You're the only one. And I hope now, when he comes, he's injured at the moment, or
Pogba, yeah, he's injured, yeah.
When they come back, and under a manager who knows a little bit more about what they're doing and see the improvement that they should see, to realize and be like, perhaps we treat them just a little bit too harshly. So I'll just sit here and wait for that to be.
It's going to be an interesting time. I mean, just looking at the table for them, they're 7th right now. They've got 2 games in hand at the time of recording on 28 points. Arsenal are 4th with 35. Tottenham are 5th with 29. They have 2 games. They have 3 games in hand. So it's interesting because the table could quite easily change if the fixtures go right for those teams. And they could easily find themselves back close to where they want to be. Tottenham could see themselves back in the top 4. Man United could see themselves close to the top 4 if they pick the points up. But the key thing is going to be their performances. Yeah. And they have been so inconsistent. And I don't know what it's going to take for something to click. There's been a lot of talk this week about the atmosphere around the club, the mentality of some players not being right, some of their behaviour is not looking good. And it's like, this is the same old kind of negative stuff we've heard before from them.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear that kind of stuff again.
Not even the arrival of Ronaldo seemed to solve their problems. I mean, if they're not getting worse, they just haven't changed. The problems haven't changed from when they first arrived. They still can't seem to, and you saw that when they were playing, Newcastle. Ronaldo thing they were nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. They're not reaching those balls, not getting those shots. I mean, Ronaldo didn't have a shot on target.
To be fair, they struggled to find him, and he made some great runs. They just didn't have the quality to find him.
He's also got to remember that he's 36. He's also got to remember that he's 36, pushing 37. He's older than me. He's fitter than me. I know my limitations, so his will come to a time. He's still going to be very, very effective. He's going to be more effective, I think, in the Champions League and League Cup and like cup games.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be as effective as he wants to be playing as in league, especially if he's going to be playing week in, week out. You know, so
He needs to hold the bench on a few games.
he has.
Bring Cavani to start because he came off the bench and
And he
scored the
scored.
equaliser.
I mean, yeah, but it was a classic poacher's goal. It was being a typical Man United goal. Right place, right time. You know, and it kind of deflated you a little bit because Newcastle did so much.
Yeah, they did.
They just didn't put that second. They could have been at least three up. They could have been at least three good, like, look, all the players have, even Joe Linton had a great game. Great game he did, you know, just popping shots from everywhere they can, but it's just that final thing that they're just kind of missing in a way. It's just really frustrating to watch. But, yeah, Man United, I'm even not losing, but it's not scintillating to watch, which sounds surprising with the players that they have. So, who have we got next?
United. Let's have a quick look. See. I mean, on top of all of this, I think the fixture, the tables also look interesting to look at because Manchester City are sitting pretty.
47 points.
You got Burnley next, Man United, at home. If it doesn't get cancelled.
If it doesn't get cancelled, they should really be winning that. Really, truly, should be winning that.
And then the next game at the weekend is against Wolves on Monday.
Home or away?
Home again. 2 home games back to back.
Wolves are funny. Wolves are fun. Wolves are that team where it's just...
You just don't know which one you're
you
going to get.
don't know what Wolves you're getting. It's funny.
But then it's the same about Man United. You don't know which one you're going to get either. You're going to get the one that can blow teams away or the one that's just hope and press.
It's too many, there's so many teams where you look at it and be like, I have no idea what I'm going to get. And yeah, it's so many teams like that now, but it's just a testament to the Premier League and the teams just getting better, I suppose. Ideas from travelling.
Quality's going up. And I mean, the one team that are just consistent at doing what needs to be done is Man City. 6-3 win against Leicester. Standout game for them over this run. How do we stop them? Because going into the season, we looked at it, we all made our predictions. I think we knew they were going to be a force. We also felt like I felt Liverpool would be strong, there and thereabouts. I didn't think there'd be a gap this already of 6 points. I thought it'd be a smaller gap. You both for yourself as well. We thought with Lukaku coming in, the additions, you'd be pushing on another level. And you've hit bumps and dropped points. I mean, they dropped points earlier on as well. I think the one thing they're very good at is this Christmas period. They just sweep up points.
Yes.
How do we knock them down a few pegs?
Well, I think it's City are sometimes their own worst enemy. And it just takes for the manager or the team to get a bit too confident with it. And that's how they lost the Champions League, really and truly, though, when we played them. Like, really and truly, they were the favourites to take it. But they didn't have a striker. We didn't have a holding mid. And we were just on great form at the time. And we took full on advantage of that. And granted, we probably could have won by more. They are their own worst enemy. So their biggest weakness is themselves. They still don't have, they have one striker. No, they got two strikers in, Jesus and, Torres. Torres? Yeah, Torres.
Ferran Torres is left.
Ferran Torres is going.
Now. So they got one striker.
Which leads to believe, is there something coming, is there someone coming back? Is there something, have they got a plan to fill that hole?
They're going to buy someone. It's a question of who. They'll buy someone.
It's who. We always did say, was it Kane, Haaland? We don't know. Could be someone else we have no idea about. But, we've still got goal scorers on the pitch, even if granted they're not recognised strikers. But yeah, I just think their biggest weakness is themselves. Because you remember when that period in the 2010s where they were just all over, like they were mentioned in pretty much every prediction to win some sort of trophy. That team is now gone. That full circle has gone. Aguero's gone. Aguero's retired now. Company's gone. Silva's gone.
Fernandinho is still there.
Fernandinho is still there.
Just about.
And he's effective, but effective is not the same thing as dominance. They're two different things. So it's kind of finding that player. But knowing them, they'll have someone in mind to kind of take on that kind of role. And they're also not afraid to splash some money when they need to. They're not afraid to. Grealish is proof.
And when they don't need to.
And when they don't.
Grealish is the proof.
Yeah, proof again. They did it with, and with Sterling. They brought him in and made him a better player. Mahrez will sing the song. He's a City
And
loyalist.
defensively, you got Ruben Diaz, you've got Aymeric Laporte.
Laporte, who's very devout to Pep's cause, very passionate, maybe sometimes a bit too passionate. He'll shut up. I think they got a lot of players in there who are loyal. But it's almost as if they take certain games for granted, where you see the side that will lose. I mean, not the side that puts 7-pass leads, not the side that puts 6 past Leicester. There's that side very much there, but there's always one game like this, the Tottenham game was one, and the Palace game was one. You know, you can get to them. But I think from a team perspective, what we can do is just stay on them. They don't like when you're on them.
No, they don't.
Don't give them that kind of room to breathe. Don't give them that kind of, like, that time to load and frustrate you. They love playing out kind of, let's say it's 1-1 in a game, and, you know, it's coming up to crunch time. They will happily camp outside that box, play nice and slow, stick to their plan. They won't necessarily do anything frantic, but that's almost makes something worse, just because they're not likely to make a mistake when they play like that. They will keep on going and break you down and bore you. If that means getting that goal. True. That is their style. And then you just sit there and be like, well, they're not doing anything. And bang, that's when they pounce. They wait for their little opening and they'll take it. So that's how we get at them. But yeah, they're also a victim of themselves. They really are.
They are. And ultimately what will be their success or failure this season is how well Guardiola can manage his own creative urges and wanting to kind of fix and change things up and stuff. Moving from one team who are all dominant, sitting pretty at the top of the table, to the team from South London that we admire a lot, Crystal Palace. Nice little 3-0 win against Norwich at home.
Still 3-0 win.
I'm intrigued with them, Palace, because right now they're 10th in the table. Obviously there's teams around them that have games in hand. They're on 23 points, so that could change. But looking at how they've played, what would you say will be the place they're going to finish? And what would be a great result for them if, like, placing in the table where they would be?
I think around where they are is kind of where, I know we've got other teams that got great games in hand, but I think a 10th place finish would be a great, like, achievement for Vieira and for a lot of the young players he has, the young loan players, the young, like, purchase players. They do deserve to be around that kind of bit. I actually thought they were a little bit higher at one point because they're 10th now. I think they got as far as, I think they've been nearly, 8th or 9th. I don't see them as a threat of being relegated. I really don't see them as a threat. I think they've got just enough to kind of be in the, like, top lower half of the table. I think bare minimum is going to be 12th.
Yeah.
Bare minimum will be 12th. An amazing achievement will be getting anywhere inside the top 10, like a 9th, a 10th or an 8th. I think 8th is just about maybe a little bit too far because their squad is still, it's got a good thing of like experience, like your Zahas and your AUs with some like youth, with like your Gallaghers and your, what's the name there? He's a young defender, a young guy.
Oh, Tarek Mitchell.
Him, yeah. They've got a good coming on player. I think that's kind of like a good little thing, but it's a bit of a thin bare squad sometimes, or maybe they don't score enough goals or whatever. I think that's going to be, I can see, I'd be happy. If I was a Palace fan, a 9th or a 12th position would be very kind of a happy place around for me, because, you know, you see other teams that kind of fell off, like Leeds, they kind of have a bit of a drop. Brentford, they're doing alright, not doing too bad. It could happen to them. I mean, then there's Leicester as well. Leicester, you can't really pinpoint them. They're getting stuffed 6 by Man City, but then they're holding Liverpool to a 1-0.
That's the thing.
You just really, it's, what is going on? I mean, and again, Villa, they've got a new manager in Gerrard but granted, who's actually done quite well since he's been there. They've also got, I think those kind of teams are kind of around there as well. And then we've still got Everton, we've got many games in hand. They could come back up. They could come.
You got Brighton as well.
Brighton.
They've got 2 games in hand. They've got 2 games in hand now.
2 games now. We're playing them tonight, or what time is it? It's 5:30 kickoff.
Yeah.
So it's starting right now. I have no idea what's going on. But yeah, they could. I mean, they play some good stuff. Their football's really, really good with the players that they have, and they got good players anyway. So it's not as if like, never mind worry about the top 4, top 6 to like Europa Conference. That mid-table battle is pretty like, it sets up the tone for how the next season could be. So it's still very serious, but I think where they are right now, they deserve to be. I could see them pushing maybe one more place. But even, I think 12th would be a good, like, kind of, because it would have been an improvement on last year as well. I think they were about 14th last year.
And it would give them a good springboard to move forward. Because looking at other teams looking at the current top 10, so you got City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, West Ham, Tottenham, United in 7th, Wolves, Leicester, and then Palace. And then below them, you've got Brighton, Villa, Southampton, Brentford, Everton, Leeds, Watford, and obviously Burnley, Newcastle, and Norwich. But you'd expect Everton and Brighton to be higher than where they currently are.
Absolutely, yeah.
Villa and Southampton, maybe if they have a bit of a crazy run, they could end up higher. But I think for both of them, 12, 13, I think they'll take that for the season.
I would. I mean...
And then Wolves is probably the only one that I think will drop. I think 8th is probably a bit high for them. Because they're very inconsistent.
They're very inconsistent, but they've got a good team.
They do.
But we've always said that for Wolves ever since they came back. They've got a good team. And be honest, as a Palace fan, even after the first game they had against us, if you told me that, as a Palace fan, if you were saying to them that you would be firmly, comfortably away from the relegation zone and competing properly with teams like Arsenal and Man City, with a new manager, I wouldn't believe you. But...
And they're exciting to watch.
And they're fun, they're great to watch. Good advertisement of youthful energy. But that's what when in the culture of South London, in the way we look at it, South London has always had that kind of energetic kind of thing about it, think of like even in music, where a lot of music artists come from, just a general like, the life down there, the Thames is down there, a lot of culture and all the fun things, lots of fun cultural things you can do down there as well. So it makes sense. It does make sense.
It does. And from south side of that river, gonna move up to North London. Aha. Very briefly, not to drag about Arsenal this week. I'm gonna keep it very short and sweet and to the point. But we're in the top 4, having a really good run of games. I've been very impressed by the way the team have played, the way how they've stuck to the manager's instructions, the way how there's a fearlessness to how they're playing. I just really am impressed with it. For you, looking forward, for Arsenal to stay in the top 4 and make Champions League this season, what do they need to do?
You need to strengthen the squad in certain areas because it's going well now because your best players right now are your young players. Your Sakas, your Smith Rowes,
Martinelli,
Odegaard,
and then obviously defensive.
Look what happens when you play Martinelli. Look what happened. Who'd have thought, eh? Who'd have thought when you play Martinelli? This is coming from a rival. I'm just saying, but clearly I know nothing. But yeah, and not just that, your signings as well. Your signings have come in and slotted in nicely. Lokonga, Tomiyasu,
Benjamin White,
and of course Aaron Ramsdale. They've slotted in really, really well, along with the other good players that you have. But it's always a case of how we're learning, where our stacked squad, we're still struggling with a squad that you have, where your second team isn't what you want for a European push. There's always that kind of danger. I think it wouldn't do a bit of harm to invest in some players in this January, even if it's for a short-term loan. If you're building on something that's a little bit better. I know you're working on making these players as assets, but if you want to be competing where you are, to stay where you are, even for someone like 6th, it's worth going just that little bit, breaking out your comfort zone just a little bit and just find anyone who's going to come in and just ready and kind of steady the ship. We've always said that you've got good players. You just maybe lacking a bit of our direction. But I think just having another set of players to kind of sit back on, being like, oh, if this kid get injured, I can come back on him, sort of thing. So I'll get some players in. I don't know who exactly, because the players he went for are probably, because the players he went for, I'm not really overly familiar with, apart from ones in the Premier League. I don't know. I can't mention. You don't always go for the most obvious players. So clearly, you might have someone else in the wings. You never know. So.
I mean, I think the main thing I'd say to them is don't deviate from the strategy they have. If anything, the big one is going to be up front.
Yeah.
Aubameyang is exiled right now. He may come back from the wilderness. He may not. Time will tell. I personally don't think he's going to come back.
Do you think it's been better since that kind of like, it was announced? Do you think it's been better since?
It's weird because it feels like when Omri left in 2007, and then we had the following season and we were just playing champagne football. Still my favourite season without winning anything.
You were for one point, you were probably better.
07, 08, yeah. So it feels like that. And if anything, it does. Two key things with this decision. One, it shows that the squad are fully behind the manager and he has a dressing room.
Yeah.
Because that was always a concern for a while, that maybe he doesn't have a dressing room, maybe the players mutiny, whatever. And two, that it's justifiable, the punishment, and that actually the players agree with it. So if they didn't agree with it, you'd see it in their performances.
Yeah, the results would be poor.
Yeah. So, I mean, even Lacazette playing up front, he's running more than he's ever done for us. He's playing more aggressively. Even, because him and Aubameyang were always close. I'm not sure if they're still as close as they were. But his performances since starting, he's kind of pointed to say, look, I should have been up here for a while.
All this time.
You know, I've been on the bench for this guy who can't even score. Lacazette's not scoring much either, but he's facilitating the overall play and he's helping the younger guys have a platform to do what they do best. So, yeah, I think it's been justified. I think it's been a hard decision to make because I don't think they took it lightly.
Oh, but it was because it could have come back in your face.
Yeah. If we'd lost that first game without him or played badly, it would have done. But the players are playing with intensity. And I think the key thing in all of this, like the manager has said himself, is that he set standards for the club. And if their standards are not met, then it's just not going to happen. And whatever's happened, there's lots of rumours around there. The things we do know is that he was repeatedly late. He slips below the standards of a captain. I think as a captain, you have to set the bar. And if you're going back on agreements, if you're they gave permission to go away to see your mum and you come back a day late, that's not what they agreed. It's not acceptable.
No.
And you can have this happened, that happened, I thought it'd be okay. No, you agreed something, you follow it through. And so at the end of the day, the manager's justified and now he has even more power in the club.
Yeah.
Because everything's working out. I do think they'll get a replacement in. I even think they might even go for one of their summer targets now. And I think they should because I've been banging on this drum the whole year so far. The opportunity has been there for the Champions League for us to get back into it. We have been very fortunate with our fixtures since the signings have come in and they've integrated really well. But we only have one game a week throughout the season. Obviously, winter period is different. We have the cup games, but we don't have a European distraction. We have all the time in the world on the training pitch to get things in place. And we're seeing that in how the team are playing. We're seeing Arteta's philosophy going well. And I think he's earning himself the capital to continue on this project. The key thing is going to be if and when we lose, how we lose and how we react. Like, for example, we've got City on the weekend.
Yeah.
If City beat Arsenal, I will not lose sleep over it.
Yeah.
However, if City beat Arsenal 6-0, different story.
Yeah.
They beat us 1-0, 2-1, maybe even 3-0 maybe. Yeah. And when I say maybe, as in we just were unlucky with chances and they scored 3 great goals, fine.
Yeah.
But if it's like the first game of the season, it was no contest. We didn't put up a fight. That I would be very, very, very upset over. And that's when I would be concerned because even in this run of games, we've had the Everton game.
Yeah.
That defeat is really, and the Man United game. Those 2 defeats now, that's 6 points, would have put Arsenal in the mix for the title. Bizarre as that sounds.
It would have.
You know.
It really would have.
So we would have been on 41 points, which would be level with you in Liverpool. Madness. But
some games, innit? It's just those kind of games where you look at it and be like, should have got something from it. From someone who knows.
And that's the thing. So, you have Charity FC. We have, way, Arsenal, way, let's not play. Okay, have a free goal. Oh, yay. We do that.
We do that, yeah.
And that's the big thing. And I'm really hopeful that those lessons have been learnt now. And going forward, the team know how to respond. I think one thing Marcus said, which is a very good point, is that we need to be able to dominate in the bigger games against the bigger teams. Can we impose our will in the matches? Can we play our football? And can we make them adapt their game to us and not just always the other way around? Because anyone can play defensive football and containment football. But when you start to impose yourself, that makes
They might be like, might step back a little bit more. Maybe respect you a little bit more as well.
That's the key thing. Last thing we're going to talk about today, we mentioned them in passing earlier. We're talking about Alan Saint-Maximin, his Twitter games. Of course, we have Sunderland. Their fall from grace has been really disappointing from a casual perspective. For you looking at it, because I think it's one thing we're going to talk about these teams that were Premier League staples and that over time have just slowly slipped away from us. For Sunderland, where do we begin? Really?
I don't really know. Because you wouldn't have said that they would go, because they got relegated about 5 or 6 years ago in really poor circumstances. They had a really poor season. They've always been that kind of club for that, up until that point where they were teetering, where I remember one time they got in Jermaine Defoe, who kept them up, or some manager who comes in, keeps them up and then leaves. There was no real, for a club in that position it was in, where there was turmoil left, right and centre, the threat of relegation was looming. You want stability, you want organisation, you want order, you want, almost like a dictatorship of we're going to stay up, this is how it's going to be. That never really happened.
No.
Never really happened. I think the season that went down, I think they had 1 or 2 different managers, so many different players not singing just not going along what they want. One game that sticks out, it was a few years before, was an absolute humiliation of a game for a Sunderland fan and from a football fan's perspective, was they lost 8-0 to Southampton.
Gee.
8-0, and it just encompasses everything that was wrong at the time with the club and where they were going, and how I was like, this is going to take some. If you think you have problems, and if Newcastle think they have problems, trust me.
They got nothing.
They ain't got nothing. Sunderland, they're the champions of this. I mean, errors from the goalkeeper, just poor play, no desire, no intent, and one of the best own goals you're ever going to see. It was a really good shot, albeit in the wrong blooming goal. And the manager at the time, who was Poyet, came in and was like, you can see he must have let go of some massive frustrations, because that was it for him. After that, he was done. He was like, yeah, I know, I'm done, I'm finished. And they've also made some really strange decisions as well. They got in him, but I think before him, they had Paolo Di Canio. And they actually got a good result in a derby against Newcastle, but it's kind of dealing with a very strong, very passionate, possibly slightly toxic leadership under him, because he's not he doesn't take things lightly. Could that be part of the problem? Then they had David Moyes was with them. David Moyes was with them, but it probably just didn't give him mind you, David Moyes had a bad time right now, because he just came from Man United and he was at, Villarreal or Valencia or somewhere, and he really just didn't. Was it Sociedad he went to?
I think it was Sociedad.
Sociedad. Didn't have a good time. Around that time in his career, he was having a really poor time. Not to where he is now. He's got West Ham, right where he wants them. And he just absolutely suffered. And then they went to the Championship and things still didn't improve. And now they're in League One. I mean, where do you begin? There's so many, from the club, the players, possibly even the owner, the culture around it. I mean, where they are is a proper football area, because you're Newcastle, Middlesbrough and them. It's a conundrum in itself. Because they've got some legends, Noel Quinn, Kevin Phillips. I mean, one time they were pushing for Europe.
Yep.
They were pushing for Europe at one point. Not that it was massively long time ago. And then it just kind of went wrong. I don't know. I really don't know where you can start. Did they just buy players for the sake of buying? Like when QPR had that 1 year of buying all these superstars to realise that, oh, wait, they're in their twilight years. Not coming here they ain't coming here to play. They're coming
in for a jolly up.
They're coming for a jolly. Westfield round the corner. Nice little bit in London. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? I don't know. I mean, it's almost like they can't even laugh anymore. It's actually quite sad, seeing a club that, that had a rivalry with Newcastle. I actually talked to a Sunderland fan not that long ago, explaining the plight of the club, where it's like, it's just not funny anymore because Newcastle, they can't really say anything because they're the only club in the Premier League. In that kind of northeast kind of territory. Middlesbrough nowhere near. Sunderland are even further. Wow. So it's like, we've lost a really good kind of rivalry from that top northeast side. A really big rivalry, a fun rivalry where it's like, your derby days, if anything, even if you finish 17th on the table, you win your derbies.
I used to love those games.
They were wicked.
Because it was always like interesting because Newcastle were the better team.
Oh, by far.
And the derby day would come along and then Sunderland would just be like, you know what, lads?
Nah, mate, it's flex.
It's our time. Bam, and they beat them.
Yeah.
And you just be like, where's that come from? And even looking at Newcastle players' reactions, they just were like, how have we lost to these lot?
Yeah, I mean, and Sunderland going to get piped next week, the same week. But it's like, they listen out those derbies. And you miss that. Even as a football fan, neutrally walking, like, these derbies were what it was about, especially in, like, the Premier League. Like, there were so many good derbies that we're being denied because of, like, where the clubs are, like, the Steel derby, like Sheffield.
Oh, mate.
United versus Wednesday. Big time derby. Big time.
I would have loved it if we had that in the league.
That would be...
There's still time. They can come back.
There's time. They could come. It could come. Even if they get it in the Championship, just televise it. But you've got the South Wales derby, then you've got there's so many derbies. Obviously the North London derby, the Merseyside derby.
Got the Seaside one, Southampton.
The Seaside derby.
We've not had that in a while.
No, we have not. No. And Portsmouth has come back because we got Southampton and Bournemouth needs to come back.
Southampton, Bournemouth, Brighton, Portsmouth.
Good Lord.
Started collecting Infinity Stones.
It's like literally, but it's like, it is.
And then if we get Middlesbrough, Newcastle, Sunderland, we've got to lose some teams though.
We've got to lose some teams though.
That's a lot of teams to lose.
We don't
Six teams to go.
6. We don't need Burnley. Don't need Burnley. We ain't got a rivalry with no one. We ain't got a rivalry. Norwich, and Ipswich are in League One.
Yeah.
So they can go.
No, it's just 2 down.
Well, Watford,
not really.
Not really. So that's 3 teams gone. 1, 2, 3, they have gone. It's getting rid of clubs that don't really have a rivalry, which is difficult because the rest of them kind of do.
Norwich? You said Norwich?
I said Norwich. So Norwich, Watford and Burnley, because then they've got a rivalry.
That's all we can do.
That's all we can do.
Because, Leicester...
But the trouble
But
is...
then they're competitive rivalries they have
They're
now.
competitive, because they're more competitive now to the position that they're in, but also because they're in the Midlands. And the Midlands is massive. You've got Wolves, you've got West Brom, Birmingham, you've got Derby, you've got Villa.
Okay, yeah, we'll keep them.
So we've got to keep them.
That's it. Unless you're going to lose a London team.
We can't lose
any
of the London teams because again the rivalry is just there, and even with you can't even lose Leeds either because Chelsea and Leeds got a rivalry again, and that's something.
Leeds and United have a rivalry.
Leeds and United, well, anyone in the United, Newcastle.
That's true.
Newcastle, Man U, everyone is Liverpool and Man U. We can't. We
can lose 3 teams.
We can only lose 3.
Well, they can all meet up in the Championship.
Yeah,
that works.
There you go. There's 24 there. There's 24 in there.
They can all meet up in the Championship.
Perfect.
Stay there for a couple of years and then come up to the Prem.
There you go. So Sunderland just need to get promoted back to the Championship.
Well, they're second in League One right now.
They are,
having a really good season. We obviously knocked them out in the Carabao quarterfinals recently, but. They came pumped up for that game. They really thought they were going to beat us. I don't know why they believed they were going to win that game, but they have, I like the belief.
Yeah.
Because it shows that in mentality, they view themselves as a big club. They were not the level, but they tried. They did try. They had a couple of good opportunities here and there. They did the usual crappy tackles, but They'll learn from it. And I hope that experience reminds the players of where they should be. Because the fans haven't forgotten.
No.
Some of the players haven't forgotten, but the fans definitely haven't forgotten. So these new players need to just kind of take that experience. Okay, we lost. Let's get promoted.
Yeah.
Get to championship.
Use that energy.
And then let's really make a crack at it next season.
Give it a try.
If anything, if I was Sunderland players, I would have a picture of Newcastle's takeover stuck up somewhere in the ground, somewhere small, because obviously it's Newcastle.
Yeah.
But just say, we're coming for you guys.
That's an
and we're going to
incentive.
beat you twice next season.
That's an
That should be
incentive.
the thing. We're going to beat you in your Qatari money twice. Not even your Saudi money, not even Qatari.
That's an even better incentive to see that your neighbours are not only more popular than you, but now they're richer than you. A lot richer than you. They're getting backing from someone who will push them to where they could be. So I'm not saying the same thing's going to happen to you, but you've got to start showing something that maybe they don't have.
No, they have
Never been a better time than now.
They have to indeed. And on that note, I'm going to call it a wrap for today. Thanks everyone for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, do leave a comment. What do you think about Sunderland? Do you think they're going to make it back to the Prem very, very soon? And what rivalry would you love to see in the league going forward? Because we've lost a lot of teams that aren't here anymore. Charlton, you know, the likes of Derby,
Portsmouth.
you know, there's been a lot of great teams gone. So who would you like to see come back in the Premier League? If you're listening on Spotify, please do rate it. Leave a comment there as well. And on iTunes, 5 stars and all that good stuff. Have a good day. My name's Clive. This is obviously Matthew. Peace out. Take care, everyone. And we are gone.
Peace out, guys.